The Undertaker. Totem Pole Nation, WWE Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan is in the match. The Undertaker, WWE. WWE Royal Rumble winners: Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Big John Studd, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Yokozuna, Lex Luger, Bret Hart, WWE, Shawn Michaels, WWE, Stone Cold Steve Austin, WWE, Vince McMahon, WWE, The Rock, WWE, Stone Cold Steve Austin, WWE Royal Rumble winners: WWE Triple H, WWE Brock Lesnar, WWE Chris Benoit, WWE Batista, WWE Rey Mysterio, WWE The Undertaker, WWE John Cena, WWE Randy Orton, WWE Superstar The Edge, WWE Superstar Alberto Del Rio, WWE Superstar Sheamus, WWE Legend John Cena, WWE former World Heavyweight Champion Batista, WWE The Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, WWE CEO Triple H, WWE Randy Orton, WWE Asuka, WWE Nakamura, WWE Becky Lynch, WWE Seth Rollins, WWE Charlotte Flair, WWE Drew McIntyre, WWE Bianca Belair, WWE Superstar Edge, WWE Diva Ronda Rousey, WWE Legend Brock Lesnar, WWE The American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, WWE Rhea Ripley, Bentley. What's up, Bentley? Bentley, this is for you.
Bentley is in the house.
WWE Bailey, WWE Cody Rhodes. Those are all of the people who have won the Royal Rumble. The Sports Illustrated WWE I'm going to go through the 101 top wrestlers according to Sports Illustrated. 101, The Miz. 100, Frank Goetsch. 99, Wild Bill Longson. 98, Christopher Daniels. 97, JBL. 96, Big Show. 95, Ron Simmons. 94, Christian. 93, WWE's Lita. 92, WWE's Batista. 91, WWE's Kevin Nash. 90, WWE's Shinsuke Nakamura. 89, WWE Johnny Valentine. 88, Michael P.S. Hayes. 87, Pedro Morales. 86, The Iron Sheik. 85, Davey Boy Smith. 84, Blue Demon. 83, WWF Superstar Jimmy Snuka. 82, Ed Lewis. 81, WWE's Kane. Number 80, WWE's Seth Rollins. 79, WWE Diva Chyna. Number 80, Mike Quackenbush. 77, Akira Maeda. 76, Rick Steiner. Number 75, Scott Big Papa Pump Steiner. 94, El Hijo del Santo. 73, Kevin Von Erich. 72, Abdul the Butcher. 71, Gene Kiniski. 7, William Regal. 69, the Fabulous Moolah. 68, the Ultimate Warrior. 67, Dean Malenko. 66, Trish Stratus. 65, Scott Hall. 64, Ultimo Dragon. 63, Larry Zbyszko. 62, Chris Benoit. 61, Ivan Koloff. 60, Goldberg, WCW and WWE legend. 59, WWE's Jeff Hardy. 58, Bret Hart's brother, rest in peace, Owen Hart. 57, WWF legend, Ravishing Rick Rude. 56, Tatsumi Fujinami. 55, Rob Van Dam. 54, Nick Bockwinkel. 53, Mil Mascaras. 52, Vern Gagne. 51, Terry Funk. 50, Samoa Joe. 49, Goldust. 48, Gorgeous George. 47, WCW's The Great Muta. 46, WCW and former face of TNA, AJ Styles. Bentley, Coach, when I get my PS5, I'm going to download Twitch and stream from Twitch on my PS5. That's amazing, Bentley. 45, The Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, The Sheik. 44, The Full Horseman, Arn Anderson. 43, Jake the Snake Roberts. 42, Ricky Doza. 41, Lou Thez. 40, Eddie Guerrero. 39, Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. 38, Dory Funk Jr. 37, El Santo. 36, Big Van Vader. 35, Rey Mysterio. 34, Kenta Hideo Itami. 33, Bruiser Brody. 32, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. 31, WWE's CM Punk. 30, Bruno Sammartino. 29, Mitsushiro Musasa. 38, Stan the Lariat Hansen. 27, Brock Lesnar. 36, Jushin Thunder Liger. 35, Bob Backlund. 24, WWE's The Edge. 23, Buddy Rogers. 22, WWE's Triple H. 21, Daniel Bryan. 20, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. 19, Antonio Inoki. 28, Kurt Angle. 17, Randy Orton. 16, Bret the Hitman Hart. 15, Mick Foley. 14, Harley Race. 13, Chris Jericho. 12, Roddy Piper. What is the countdown? The countdown is Sports Illustrated's top 101 wrestlers of all time. Thank you very much, Tom. This is for you. Welcome to Totem Pole Nation. We are the low man on the totem pole. And there's probably a way I'm going to figure it out to show the countdown. All right, so hold on 1 second. I'm going to figure it out. I might have to take that off the screen. Coach Bald.
Coach, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm trying to figure out how I can show the game and read off this computer at the same time. But I'm going through the top 101 wrestlers of all time. Bentley says, I think Roman Reigns comes back. I think he's going to come out when Solo and Cody do for SummerSlam. All right, I like Sports Illustrated's list a lot better. Sports Illustrated's list, I'm going back to the top 20. Here's Sports Illustrated's list for the top 20 pro wrestlers of all time. Number 20, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Talk a little bit about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Coach Ball.
Wow. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, probably two of the greatest matches, pro wrestling matches of all time I can think of that he was a part of. He had a Chi-Town Rumble against Nature Boy Ric Flair, one of the greatest matches of all time. And also he had that WrestleMania 3 match against the Macho Man, Randy Savage, which in my opinion, that was the greatest match on that card. Everybody remembers the Hogan body slamming Andre, but that match between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and the Macho Man was definitely one of the greatest matches of all time. One of the best arm drags, and Ricky Steamboat, he could fly off of that top rope. He was phenomenal. Early in his career, I believe him and Chief Jay Strombo were a tag team and won some titles, I believe the NWA titles back in the day, or Mid-South titles. But yeah, man, legend of the game, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Like I said, if you guys are new to wrestling and you want to see some great matches, check out him versus Ric Flair. Check out him versus the Macho Man, Randy Savage, in WrestleMania 3. What do you think about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Coach?
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is a baby face. Ricky Dragon the Steamboat doesn't get the respect he deserves. But the guys that were in the business, they respect him. Number 19, Antonio Inoki. Are you familiar with Antonio Inoki, Coach Bald?
Yeah, it's pronounced Inoki. And yes, Inoki over in Japan is about as popular as Hulk Hogan is in America. He was a guy that was pretty much over there always a baby face, and he changed the game of wrestling over in Japan. He's one of the reasons that wrestling is so big all over the world. He, in my opinion, should be top 10, maybe even top 5, but arguably the best wrestler to come out of the great land of Japan. Him, and it makes me think of the Great Muta. Great Muta was also a guy that is phenomenal. And Great Muta, he actually learned a lot wrestling here in the Tampa area. He came and he was in the Tampa region when you had guys like Paul Orndorff going through. You had guys like Ron Simmons going through. The Great Muta. He was another guy. But yeah, it all starts with Inoki, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And he's a big guy, man. He was a big guy. I want to say at least 6'5", probably 260, 270. And yeah, man, he was those Japanese wrestlers, they wrestle very snug. They wrestle very stiff, which means a lot of those punches are legit. They are laying the leather on each other. Yeah, Inoki is one of the greatest. I actually have his rookie card, and I have it PSA graded 8. And yeah, he just passed away within the last 2 years, man. One of the greatest of all time. Inoki, I believe he went into politics there in Japan as well, man. Highly respected, highly loved throughout the world, and especially worldwide in professional wrestling. Who you got there at 18, Coach?
Number 18, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle wasn't the first guy to enter the wrestling business green and take it naturally. He's not even the one who did it best. That designation probably belongs to Brock Lesnar. But Angle was also hilarious, hateable, and implicitly watchable. He was the wrestling machine, but he could also inject a career's worth of emotion into a single ankle lock. Let's pour one out for the man who turned a gold medal into a sniveling heel icon, Kurt Angle. What do you know about Kurt Angle, Coach Ball?
Yeah, I mean, Kurt Angle, he won a gold medal and he did it, I want to say, around 96, 97, and he did it with a broken neck. So you talk about some fortitude of a guy. Kurt Angle, one of the greatest of all time. And, hey, he's legit as they come. He is legit as they come. There's many of underground rumors of him balling up Brock Lesnar, and he was as good as they come, in the squared circle and on the wrestling mat. I'm a guy that loves amateur style wrestling. I always try to get guys that are good football players to go over and transition to wrestle at high school, because it's just a whole different mentality. In the game of wrestling, in amateur and in high school style, college style, you do have a team that gets you better. You have to work with people, different sizes, different shapes, but at the end of the day, it's mano a mano. It's one-on-one with a guy that weighs the exact same as you. And, it's an unbelievable sport. It gets you better in every aspect, especially football. Because what are you doing when you're wrestling? You're trying to take a man down, or you're trying to not let a man take you down. And that's the same thing as you do in pro football, college football, rugby. A lot of sports this would help you transition into. I believe it would make basketball players a lot tougher as well, Coach. Who do you got sitting there at 17, man? I love Kurt Angle, and one of his favorite sayings was, "It's true, it's damn true."
Number 17, Randy Orton. Someone once said that Randy Orton reminds them of a guy who's been working at the same place long enough to not really care anymore. That might be true, but even when he's sleepwalking, Orton does his job better than anyone. I will never get tired of watching him stalk around the ring and hit clutch RKOs. Yeah, he'll always be the Macho Man to Cena's Hogan. But honestly, I kind of prefer it that way. Randy Orton, WWE legend. Coach Bald, talk about WWE's Randy Orton.
Yeah, I love Randy Orton. The RKO is arguably one of the most devastating wrestling finishers of all time. It ranks up there with the DDT from Jake the Snake Roberts. It ranks up there with the Diamond Cutter from Diamond Dallas Page. When he sinks that thing and he locks you into that, it's game over. The match is over once he hits you with that RKO. He comes from a pedigree of family, man. His dad, Cowboy Bob Orton, was in WrestleMania 1. He was in WrestleMania 1 on the sidelines with Roddy Piper and the great Mr. Wonderful from Tampa, Paul Orndorff, and they battled against Hulk Hogan, and they battled against Mr. T. And that's what got WrestleMania started. That's what got wrestling and rock and roll in together. And yeah, man, Randy Orton is definitely one of a kind. The Viper. I've seen his story here lately on one of the channels, and the guy went through some serious adversity. He had some drug problems. You know what I mean? He ran through a lot of difficult situations. I believe he got kicked out of the Marine Corps. Yeah, man. So a guy that has kind of turned his life around, and luckily he got a shot with WWE, and he's been able to change his life and become a superstar and arguably one of the greatest businesses of all time, man. WWE is a very profitable business. It is the NFL of sports entertainment.
I mean, dude, it might even be bigger than the NFL. When I look at their YouTube channels, and I look at what the WWE is built and is building right now with Vince McMahon leaving, I mean, dude, it's impressive. Number 16, Bret the Hitman Hart. Out of all the retired legends in wrestling, I think Bret Hart is the guy I wonder about the most. What about a Bret Hart Daniel Bryan match be like? Or Hart Rollins, or Hart Lesnar, or even Hart Cena? Hitman proved he could work with anyone, and in a perfect world, he'd be wrestling hour-long barn burners for the rest of time. Now, they have Bret the Hitman Hart at 16. Our other list yesterday had him at number 1. I think he's closer to 16. Tell us about Bret the Hitman Hart, WWE Hall of Famer.
You know, the first time I laid eyes on Bret the Hitman Hart, it was WrestleMania 2. Him and Jim the Anvil Neidhart were in the original, the first ever, the Battle Royal, in which Andre the Giant won that. But the last two men in there with him was Bret the Hitman Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and he chucked out Neidhart, and then he lifted Bret Hart right over his head, press slammed him onto the concrete outside, and it was just a beautiful thing. The guy is as talented as anybody. He was a guy that I believe made Shawn Michaels who he is. You know, he made Shawn Michaels work for everything. Their feud, their tenacity, there was a lot of bad blood between those guys, legitimately. You know, there was always that the Montreal screw job, you know, one of the biggest things that ever went down in pro wrestling. Him being a part of that is phenomenal, but his dad, Stu Hart, is such a legend, such a well-respected man. You know, they had that dungeon there in Montreal, and he would fold guys up. He would get people in there, and he would literally beat the hell out of them to see if they were tough enough to make it in the business. And there was a lot of people that did not make it, but that looked the prototypical size. They had the size, the speed, the agility, but they didn't have the heart. And when I say heart, I'm talking Bret Hart, Hart Foundation. Legend in the game. He's definitely in my top 10, man, because he was a guy that was just outworked everybody, and every single night he gave it his all. He had the look. He made pink cool for dudes to wear. He had the shades that everybody's rocking here in Florida these days. The guy's a legend, man. I love some Bret Hart. And I, as a young guy, man, I knew that he was going to be big time. I think his career definitely his career was hurt when he went to WCW, and eventually when Goldberg ended his career with that vicious assault heel kick to the head.
Wow. Number 15 on Sports Illustrated's top 101 wrestlers of all time. And I'll probably go back through this and read it all again. Mick Foley was the ultimate everyman. Far, far from an elite athlete, Foley got over with heart and a ridiculous high tolerance for pain. Years of frightening back bumps and unprotected chair shots have left him semi-crippled, but his legacy is untouchable. Mick Foley has left a message for Totem Pole Nation. The legendary WWE Mick Foley, Mankind, Cactus Jack, Coach Bald made you a message, made your friend, the legendary Cuban assassin Fidel Sierra a message. Tell Totem Pole Nation about Mick Foley.
Yeah, you know, everybody has to know about that Hell in the Cell match against The Undertaker. I mean, obviously that dude was inches away from losing his life in that match, but for him to continue going, I believe he got a hole in his ear in that match. But I knew him previously, man. I knew him to be a tough SOB. He had some legendary matches against Big Van Vader, you know, in WCW. He had a great feud with the legendary Terry Funk. Him and Terry Funk became allies. They became a tag team, and as tough as anybody. Yeah, the guy, they definitely raised the bar for sports entertainment. Those guys, you know, would have barbed wire matches, barbed wire wrapped around a baseball bat match. I mean, you know, the guy was unbelievable. He was a wild man, and I believe he was a product of he learned a lot from Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan's a guy from Boston that was just on another wavelength of horror. Like, this guy would literally have promos, and as a little kid, you had nightmares about guys like Kevin Sullivan. You had nightmares about guys like Mankind, you know, Cactus Jack. He was able to change into 3 different characters. The only guy to ever be in a Royal Rumble and play 3 different roles. He came in as Cactus Jack. He came in as Mankind. And I believe he came in as Dude Love and was eliminated by everybody. Well, he was eliminated and did not win the Rumble, but the only guy I think to participate in the Rumble 3 times in one match. phenomenal. Who do we got after Mankind, a.k.a. Cactus
A
Jack?
guy who I never gave the respect to because I was young and dumb, but once I heard Ric Flair talk about this guy, the legendary 16-time World Heavyweight Champion, WCW, NWA, AWA, WWF, WWE World Champ, Ric Flair talked about the King, Harley Race. When people talk about the golden era of NWA, they're talking about the 35-minute cage matches between Harley Race and Ric Flair. WWE was a goofy and cartoonish, and that worked well for them, but the Southern stuff carried a stronger, gorier edge. These days, Harley Race matches are a transformative experience, the closest pro wrestling ever got to being real. Coach Bald, the King, Harley Race, a legend, a trendsetter. Talk about, from your WWE pro wrestling expertise, the King, Harley Race.
You know what? I think it's because of him, people were able to, fall in love so easily with a Stone Cold Steve Austin. Just a very tough individual, very raspy voice, just a legit stiff, tough guy. There's a lot of people that say, that he is right up there with Haku. He's right up there with Ox Baker as far as the legitimate, most toughest guys ever in the business. And, for people to say that just shows you the talent of the man. But he made a lot of legends. He had some great matchups with Kerry Von Erich, with Kevin Von Erich. Those guys were young. He was a little seasoned at the time, but he put those guys over. He had a lot of legendary battles. He had some good ones with superstar Billy Graham. Harley Race, definitely a legend. He didn't do too well when he went to WWF because they were kind of making it more of a circus, gimmicky stuff. That he didn't really like that style. He just liked that rugged, the dude that, changes your tire and then he'll kick your butt. You know what I mean? Just a bad dude, as legit as it gets, man. He was also a good friend of the Grappler. The Grappler, one of the greatest wrestlers out of Portland wrestling. Him and Harley Race were really good friends. And my man Fidel Sierra has never had anything bad to say about Harley Race, only good stuff. And they all are very blessed to have known him. And they told me about that legend. Watch his videos. He had some amazing matches, one of the greatest heels of all time. Who do you got after Handsome Harley, Coach?
At number 13, WWE Chris Jericho was the original vanilla midget the internet loves, going as far back to WCW when he was a weird, absurdist heel trying to thrive in a company in which people like Goldberg were getting a push. But since entering the WWE, he's been a perennial world champion and capable of putting on good matches with anyone in front of him. CM Punk, Triple H, AJ Styles. It never mattered. At 45, he's still the kid with whom we fell in love. WWE's Chris Jericho. Coach Ball, give us your expertise on Chris Jericho.
Yeah, man, he came in an era, he was there for some of the greatest battles, between that WCW versus WWF time, NWO versus WWF. It was great. WWE, the Monday Night Wars, he was a huge part of. I'll never forget when he showed up on Monday night, a special guest. They didn't know his music hit, and man, the pop he got was unbelievable. One of the greatest wrestlers all time to come out of Canada. He's right up there. I would say he's a couple shades under Bret the Hitman Hart, but different eras. But still, man, that toughness, that lion heart that he has. He's been able to do multiple characters. He's still wrestling. He's currently wrestling for AEW, and if you're listening to us right now tonight, he will be on AEW tonight, wrestling against Suzuki. Suzuki is one of the baddest dudes to ever come out in professional wrestling. This guy reminds me of Mike Tyson. He has a towel around his head. He's got the black shoes, the black tights. Suzuki. He is a legend in the game, and he fights Chris Jericho, a legend in the game, tonight, only on AEW. And I believe that's on either TBS or TNT tonight. But I will definitely have all eyes watching that battle of two legends. But yeah, Jericho, man, without a doubt, what a guy. He's in a band. I believe his band's name is Foxy. No, not Foxy. It's something similar to that. But yeah, man, just a great entertainer. He does a Jericho cruise every year that's huge out of the Tampa area. Fozzy is the name of his band, Fozzy. And his come out song now is as popular as any. He is a heck of an individual. Who do you got after the walls of
number 12, WWF? Probably one of the greatest heels of all time, Roddy Piper. You know the basics. He was the best promo ever and a core influence on guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho, etc. He was a major part of one of the most important WrestleMania matches ever, and his charisma transitioned neatly into a couple cult action movies. But more than anything, I've never seen someone have as much fun with his or her character as Rowdy Piper. He was a brilliant heel, a brilliant man, and this business is a sadder place without his mind. WWE Hall of Famer, Roddy Piper. Coach Bald, tell us about Roddy Piper.
I'm going to give you two quotes to remember from Roddy Piper. One of them was, "You never throw rocks at a machine gun." And that's what he was on the microphone. The other one was legendary. He said, "I only came here for two reasons, to whoop some ass and chew some bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum." Wow. Yeah. Wow. The Hot Rod, I'll tell you what, he was as good a worker as ever. Arguably one of the greatest heels of all time, had an amazing run. Portland Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. Look up Portland Wrestling, Roddy Piper. He had some amazing feuds there with Top Gun, with Buddy Rose, with, so many guys went to Portland before they went up to WWE. It is one of the most underrated wrestlings of all time. If you're over in that area, you look at it like we look at NWA and WCW. If you live in that area, that's how it is to you, compared to where we live on the East Coast. So we were lucky to get WCW and to get NWA back in the day. But yeah, man, the Hot Rod, nobody could get a crowd hated at him like the Hot Rod, man. And when he came out and they had his music blaring, unbelievable. Watch him in WrestleMania 1. Watch him in WrestleMania 2. He absolutely put Mr. T over big time. They said that those guys afterwards, after that boxing match, Mr. T looked like he was going to die, and Hot Rod was over there smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer like, "Hey, man, this is what I do." You know what I mean? Just a legend in the game. Who do you got next, Coach? I love me some Hot Rod, Roddy Piper.
Number 11, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. For my money, I don't think there was a more complete package than Macho Man. He was a brilliant promo, a great character, and capable of working with big, hammy main events with Hulk Hogan and technical masterpieces with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Things fell off quickly after Savage went to WCW, but his golden age stands tall over nearly everyone.
Man, without a doubt. How many catchphrases does that guy have? "Oh yeah, the cream always rises to the top." So much that he brought us. I remember one quote was that, life is going to throw you curveballs, man, and you got to deal with them as best as you can. It's not the problem, it's how you react to the problem that counts. So many times he would say in his promos life lessons that could help you. But because of the just intensity, like people were just goo goo gaga, their eyes were wide open, but their ears couldn't understand what positive messages were coming out of this guy, just because he was on a level nobody's ever seen, as far as just from the heart, just madness, just unbelievable. But yeah, man, that elbow drop from the top and him bringing in Elizabeth was great for pro wrestling. I think that kind of changed pro wrestling. You had some women wrestlers back then, but they didn't put a lot of women managers, to the front line. Miss Elizabeth helped change that game. And yeah, very, very thankful that I was able to live and see some of the Macho Man, Randy Savage. The guy was just electrifying. He could run up to the top rope, jump off the top with a double-edged axe handle to the down to the side of the ring, and that's about a 20-foot drop, man. Unbelievable how this guy would do this on a nightly basis and just how he could get the crowd fired up. My favorite match with him was that one with number 20, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, man. I loved that. And I loved when they gave him his flowers and he beat the $1 Million Man, I believe, at WrestleMania 4. Unbelievable. I love me some Macho Man Randy Savage. He should be top 5 in my book, Coach. Who do you got next?
Number 10, WWE Hall of Famer, Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant defined an entire business model in the wrestling business. He was and forever will be the ultimate attraction. Big Show, The Undertaker, and even Brock Lesnar all walk the path the Giant paved. And yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt that everybody in the business has an amazing drunk Andre story. And we have some comments right here. DCL says, good morning. DCL, this is for you because you are our Macho Man Randy Savage. You are our Sting. You are our Chris Jericho. You are an up-and-coming music superstar, and you are an up-and-coming content creator. WWE Hall of Famer, number 10 overall, Coach Bald, Andre the Giant. Coach Bald, are you still there?
Andre the Giant was just one of the most original, organic characters. He was him. He was who he is. He didn't have to act like anybody. That's exactly who he was. That's why he had so much success, is because that's who he was. He was a giant. He did like to drink. He was jolly. Those who Andre didn't like, they did not want to wrestle against Andre because Andre worked stiff. He was stronger than 3 men. He was just unbelievable. And I tell you what, he was in some great movies as well. They had him in. And, man, I love me some Andre the Giant. I loved when he turned heel, man, because it was very scary at the time. The way he ripped Hulk Hogan's chain and Hogan started crying, it was unbelievable. Like, that's when wrestling got real right there, and it was unbelievable. And, yeah, man, Andre the Giant, just such an amazing dude. The stories I've heard from so many other legends about him are unbelievable. I love me some Andre the Giant. Why he's another top 5 guy. As far as big men, I think you got to put him first because he paved the way for everybody else. Who you got next, Coach?
DCL wants to know, how have you been today, coaches? We've been great. We've been enjoying making content with Total Pole Nation. But DCL wants to know, how have you been, Coach Bald?
Hey, thank you for asking, DCL. Everything is good. We're just trying to bring you what you guys want. A lot of people love wrestling on YouTube. We love wrestling. We love YouTube. And that's what we're here for. Hey, man, I'm excited about SummerSlam coming up. You got a huge event here. You got Logan Paul versus, arguably the next Stone Cold Steve Austin, the LA Knight. What a match that's going to be. I'm sorry, Coach. I'm getting off the subject. Who do you got next?
Keep going, man. Keep going, bro.
Keep
going, man. You're doing great.
Cleats and Dreams, man. Thank you for joining. Yeah, dude, the SummerSlam's going to be awesome. You got CM Punk going against Drew
Cleats and
McIntyre.
Dreams, this is for you. Cleats and Dreams, this is for you. Coach Ball talking about SummerSlam, WWE SummerSlam.
Yeah, man. Solo versus Cody. That's going to be phenomenal, man. They laid quite the beat down. If you didn't get to see SmackDown this past week, I'm about to hit you with a spoiler. Cody Rhodes and KO Kevin Owens got the brakes beat off of them. A legendary butt whooping there on the SmackDown every Friday on Fox Network, I believe. But we're on YouTube. We love YouTube. What else do we got, Coach? Who's next?
DCO says, we at Ethel. DCO says, welcome to Total Pole Nation, Cleats and Dreams. Number 8, Hulk Hogan. For better or worse, this is the face of wrestling. Hulk Hogan will always, hold on, I missed one. I'm sorry. Number 9, the Stinger, Sting. People like to talk up Hulk Hogan's transition from mega face to dastardly PG-13 heel, but I've always thought Sting showed more range. He was a white meat surfer bro, an intensely profitable Crow ripoff, and survived a series of bad TNA ideas like, say, Joker Sting. Through it all, Steve Borden showed us how loyal and humble he was to the cause. If you're going to build a company around one character trait, it's probably that. Cleats and Dreams says 3 days only of watching Totem Pole Nation. Wow. Cleats and Dreams, this is for you, bro. Cleats and Dreams, what a blessing it is to have you here. Coach Ball, tell us a bit about Sting.
Not a whole lot of people know this, but Sting, when he came up, and I believe it was the UWF wrestling organization way back in about the mid to late 80s. But he was actually teamed with the Ultimate Warrior at the time. Their original tag team was the Blade Runners. Who would have thought those two guys would go on to have the aura of success that they ended up having in their careers? I'll tell you what, Sting was always one of my favorite wrestlers. Probably my favorite match was him against. They had some all throughout the world.
You're breaking up a little bit, Coach Bald.
Another feud I really loved was Sting versus Bret. Was one of the greatest baby faces of all time. Then they had that whole NWO thing, and man, when he turned into the Crow Sting, oh my gosh, it went to a whole nother level. Now you look at him like kind of like an Undertaker type individual. But I love Sting. I love everything he's brought to the business, and I'm excited because I'm going to the CAC Wrestling's Legend Lunch. The CAC Wrestling Legends event in Las Vegas next month, and Sting will be getting his flowers there. So I'm excited to see that, meet him. He had an amazing feud with the Black Scorpion, who ended up showing up as Ric Flair under a mask, and that was a great event. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sting, meeting Sting. I know he's good friends with my good friend Fidel Sierra, the Cuban Assassin.
And here he is. Fidel Sierra, the Cuban Assassin. Cuban Assassin, I think we found a better list.
You found a better list?
Sports Illustrated came up with a better list.
Okay.
And right now, I'm going to just give you the 10 is Andre the Giant. Talk a little bit about Andre the Giant, the legendary Cuban Assassin, Fidel Sierra.
I still say Andre should be in the top 5, but I guess everybody's got their own opinion of how they want to put this. But how can you not put Andre the Giant in the top 3 when Hogan and him set the record to the highest level for WWF? And from then on, it took off.
I totally agree. Number 9, they got Sting. How do you feel about number 9 being Sting? Cuban Assassin.
Even Sting, I would say, should be lower. Sting is great. He was, I had a lot of great matches with him. Me and Ricky Santana, the Barrio brothers, wrestled him and Lex Luger so many times. But I thought they would have Sting lower than that too. But, I just don't know who's making these up. Who's not making them up? Who's setting these standards? Or I mean, where's Ricky Steamboat?
20.
Ricky Steamboat on this list. Ricky was 20, was he not? He was a lot lower on that other jabroni list from yesterday.
Yeah, Ricky Steamboat should be in that top 10. I mean, and if I go all the way back, I got to go to Jack Briscoe and all these people.
Wow.
But I can't.
But you actually know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah.
You actually know what you're talking about. These guys don't. They're not from the business. They're not in the business. They really don't know anything.
I would say that, I mean, I've been in the business for over 40 years, and heck, I can't believe, I just don't know where they came up with this list. Heck, I got a show this Friday at the Campbell Park Recreation Center in St. Louis, where I'm managing Romeo Quevedo, one of the best Cuban athletes. I mean, I would say he has become what Fidel Sierra, the Cuban assassin, built from Havana, Cuba. He's that new generation who's, I would say, he's going to be in the top 5. And right now, as in today's modern era of wrestling, he's in that top 5 because he should be in one of these major companies.
Wow. Man, absolutely.
We totally
this
agree.
Friday. Go ahead, Coach.
I was just getting ready to say number 8 is Hulk Hogan. For better or worse, this is the face of wrestling. Hulk Hogan will always be synonymous with the industry that made him famous. His ring work was suspect. Wow. His politicking was commendable, but that doesn't change the fact that Hulk Hogan captured imaginations more than any other wrestler. Yes.
Coach, let me chime in really quick. See, the difference between their list and our list, and with having Fidel Sierra, there's not a guy that we haven't listed in this top 20 that he has not either faced mano a mano or that he's been a partner with. Okay, so this guy has all the insight on all these guys. Dude, he was at Hogan's last birthday party. Tell us about it, Fidel.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. And, Hogan, how they can rate him. So, I mean, I say it again, if it wasn't for Andre the Giant, God bless his soul, passing the torch to Hulk Hogan, letting him body slam him, that's what set the WWF back then on fire. And that's what made Hulk Hogan bigger than life. And Andre the Giant passed that torch because he was, his back and all that. And he was in not great health. And I had great tours with him in Japan, wrestled with him, like I said. I teamed with him against Inoki and Sakaguchi. And I just think Hogan should be lower. He should be in that top 3,
Yes. Coach Bald, how do you feel about Hulk Hogan? I know you were a Hulkamaniac.
Yeah, I think he's arguably he's 1, 2, or 3. If he's outside of the top 3, I think you really need to look at the business and look at the history of it. That was starting with his rivalry with the Iron Sheik. That was something that put him on a level. But exactly what Fidel said, until Andre gave him his flowers, he wasn't. I don't think he was exactly the megastar. That body slam that happened in the Pontiac Superdome in Detroit, Michigan, changed wrestling forever. Pay-per-views became outrageous, and everybody was watching it. And he had one of the greatest heel turns of all time. When he turned heel and went NWO, that also changed professional wrestling landscape. I absolutely think he's definitely either 1, 2, or 3. Sitting there at number 8 is it's mind-boggling. It's a stooge statement, if you will. Who do we got next?
What about Ric Flair being number 26? And that guy yesterday,
that's crazy. That is crazy.
He thought that Ric Flair was a guy who politicked himself to where he was. And I don't know about that, dude. Ric Flair, no one ever said that Ric Flair is 26th overall. Nobody.
No.
You were in the ring with Ric Flair. Talk about that.
I had hour draws with Ric Flair, but I want to go back to 1978 or into 78 when Ric Flair was feuding with Ricky Steamboat in the Mid-Atlantic, and I'm sure Cal's seen some of that. And man, Ric Flair was so good anywhere. When he was world champion, he had, which all the NWA world champions back then, they could be a week in Japan, fly out of Japan and wrestle in Kansas City or St. Louis or, right back in Charlotte. But Ric Flair had such great feuds with Ricky Steamboat and so many others. But I just don't understand that one either. How can Ric Flair be, if they're going by the Ric Flair nowadays, that, he's unpredictable nowadays. He'll come off the wall, and, we all do. Hey, I come off the wall all the time. Cal has to catch me coming off the wall at his house.
That's why we love you.
Yeah, Coach Ball has to catch me all the time, flying off of his dock almost. I dive off his roof and he try to make it to the dock. He says, "Stop doing that."
Yes.
It's true, Coach. All the time I'll have, we'll have boats going by and they'll have American flags on there, and Fidel will run over there with his Cuban flag and I curse him out in a language I don't know just yet. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I always ask him, "What did you tell him?" And he's, you know what the Cuban assassin tells me? He says, "I told them they need to learn how to speak some Spanish."
Yeah,
What a guy! What a guy!
Yeah, that's what I told that low-life Christopher Cruz yesterday.
Number 7, John Cena. At this point, it should be clear that John Cena is amazing at his job. Over the past year, he's dug out his worker boots and had excellent matches with people like Seth Rollins, Cesaro, AJ Styles, and Kevin Owens. And before that, he was working bloated, mass-marketed epics with The Rock. Cena is still better on the mic than anyone in the company and capable of turning into a parody of himself in Trainwreck and a genuinely surreal character on Total Divas. He's a monster heel and a white meat babyface at the same time. If you don't think John Cena is in the pantheon, you've been wrong for a long, long time. What do you think about that? That's what this genius wrote from Sports Illustrated. I never saw him as a heel. They put John Cena at number 7.
Number 7. It's not there. I can't go by the number because 7 is not a bad number. But they're not including, besides all that ring work, all that ring that stuff he does, all the matches, and all the help he does for for the kids, and John Cena's a down to earth person that really tries to help people that are not doing good, people that he's really a good man, and as far as his wrestling, he's always proven to do whatever it takes to get over or to be a heel or whatever it is. He did it right.
Coach Bald, how do you feel about John Cena at number 7?
Yeah, I think what he's done in the wrestling business has been just phenomenal. Just with the entertainment business, he's done more Make-A-Wish foundations than anybody.
Exactly.
So I give him a huge kudos. Like, that's the thing that, they have all these dark sides of the ring, and they really piss me off because they never talk about what the guys were doing for their fans. You don't know how many times Fidel Sierra, Ricky Santana went to the hospitals to check out kids that weren't doing well and how they changed those kids' lives and stuff like that. It's never talked about like that with the Road Warriors or Mr. Perfect. Some of those guys that were at the top of their game in their business, taking time away from their own family to check on kids in the hospitals and stuff like that. So I think the guy, I love what Cena does. He definitely is versatile. And on the microphone, he's as good as it gets. I mean, he's top 3, 4 on the microphone. I think you got to have Rock up there, probably Nature Boy Ric Flair, maybe even CM Punk. But, as far as getting on that microphone and lighting up a crowd, there aren't too many that can pull off what John Cena has been able to do, Coach. What else you got, Coach?
Okay, let me explain something one more to throw in there, Coach Bald.
Yes.
Rowdy Piper, God bless his soul. One time, when I was in Oregon, and I was a good guy, and he grabbed me, said, tomorrow morning you're meeting me at 8 o'clock. And we went to this hospital to see all these kids, and the most oldest, let's say 15, and these kids were in bad health. Some of them had maybe a month to live, some 2 months, some less. And Roddy would go, and Roddy would hug them and talk to them, really, and I did too. And see, that's the stuff that some people don't realize. Roddy Piper, he was such a great guy too, and that would come and do this stuff. And what we do a lot of times, to go make drug speeches and stuff like that. It's stuff that you don't hear about that should be heard about, like Coach Ball just said. Nobody looks at those points or those things these guys do. They don't have to. Roddy Piper was well set off. He had good money and all that. He don't have to go to no hospital, but he did it because it came out of his heart, like I did when he said, come on, we're going to go see these kids and cheer up their life for what little bit of life they have left.
Wow. I mean, to be in the same car with Roddy Piper and now be in the same car with Coach Bald. I mean, are there some similar characteristics between Coach Bald and some of these elite wrestlers that you have been with? Is there something inside of them that they all share?
Coach Bald is like, he's sort of like the same way as Roddy Piper or whatever. Coach Bald goes beyond to help people out. You know what I mean?
What a blessing.
He'll tell me sometimes, I'll say some stuff, and he has to put me in and remind me. He says, Cuban, look at you. You're healthy. You're all that. Look at some of these other guys. You got to stay more positive. And, because sometimes I get into that, not being positive and feeling sorry for myself. And he pulls me out of that, and I see him care for a lot of people too. So I say Coach Bald is, he's like a Roddy Piper in my book, because he really does it out of heart. He don't do it because he has to.
Hey man,
that is amazing.
I really appreciate that. That's such a blessing, you saying that. And I think it's like, one of the guys that that you looked up to, Hiro Matsuda. Hiro Matsuda saw something in you, Fidel Sierra. Rocky Johnson, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's dad, saw something in Fidel Sierra. And these are the type of individuals that whenever you need to be, pulled aside and say, hey, man, it's going to be okay, they would do that. Sometimes you might need to be pulled aside and told off a little bit. And that's the type of coaching and leadership that I think those guys have and the good mentors have. You got to know your people. You got to know how to talk to people and communicate with people. I can look at Fidel in the face, and I can see it in his eyes if he's having a good day, and I do. I got to talk to him a lot of times because, the demons will want to pull you one side. We talk about it all the time. There's a little character on one shoulder who's dressed up in red, and he's got his pitchfork. And then on the other side, there's a guy dressed in all white telling you to, do what you're supposed to be doing and everything. But we have some good conversations, and I'm proud to call him one of my best friends, man. I love both you guys right now, man. I love it.
Yeah, and you know what? Coach Ball just hit the number. The little guy in red, he tries to always. I don't know why he loves me. He's always trying to get his side.
Yes, he does.
He's like, he's like holding the Cuban flag for me or something. I don't know.
Yes. Some people like their dark side. Number 6. Man, I'm kind of happy with this list. I've never been in the business. I've been a fan, and I will admit that. I'm not going to try to tell anybody that I was in these guys' business. I was a fan of them in the business. Dusty Rhodes, number 6. Dusty Rhodes was simply the best pure baby face in the history of pro wrestling. Yeah, his ring work might look a little dated compared to the modern product, but nobody was able to get a room on his side quite like Dusty Rhodes. His wars with Ric Flair were legendary, and the legacy he passed down through his advocacy and unjadedness in NXT will never be forgotten. Wrestling is full of underdog stories, but there will only be one Dusty Rhodes story. The American Dream. Talk about the American Dream, the legendary Cuban assassin Fidel Sierra.
Man, let me tell you about Dusty Rhodes. One time, he gave me some great, helped me out a lot. He was the boss here, championship wrestling from Florida. And somebody messed up big time in Orlando. And Dusty said, "Baby, I need you to come by the office tomorrow. I need to talk to you." And I said, "All right, Dream." So I got there and I said, "Yeah, Dusty's waiting for you upstairs." So I walk in the office and there's Dusty with his cowboy boots and on, and he's looking at me and he goes, "Sierra, let me tell you something, baby. I'm looking at you. I want to hire you. You're going to be in that top 3 heel position. I got to come up with some name for you, baby." And I looked at him, and I'm looking at Dusty, and he's looking at me, and he goes, "I got it." He goes, "We're going to put you in white silk." I said, "Okay." He said, "Can you get some white silk outfit?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Go from white boots to white silk all the way up. And we're going to put a mask on you, baby." And I go, "Okay." And he goes, "Yep." He said, "And we're going to call you the Saint." And I said, "Okay, the Saint. Cuban assassin, the Saint. Who's that? I'm not no saint." But anyway. So he goes, so I said, "Well, Dream, we got to put a gold halo or something." He goes, "Yeah, baby, you're thinking like me now. I'm thinking a gold halo around your head on the mask, and then on your side where it says Saint, I make that gold." And that, you know what? He gave me that gimmick, and it got over. And
Wow.
He put me with Crusher Khrushchev as a Russian, and we took Jim Neidhart, God bless his soul, and turned him into a turncoat American. And man, we battled the Freebirds all over here. And, and I wrestled Dusty one-on-one in Dallas, Texas. He hit me with an elbow, and he hit me so good with that elbow. He said, "Try to make it to the second row."
Wow.
But Dusty was what a man. He had such a brain because he learned from people like Eddie Graham and Dory Funk Sr. And Eddie Graham had one of the best minds in the business, And when we talk about the people that helped me, because you were talking earlier, I can't leave out the late King Curtis helped me out with Ada Maivia, Rocky Johnson, The Rock's mom. And if it wasn't for them, I never would have got my start in 1978 in Dallas, Texas, and wrestled all them Von Erich boys.
Unbelievable. Coach Ball, Dusty Rhodes.
One of the best promos of all time, the Hard Times promo. All you youngsters want to get in the wrestling business. You want to learn how to talk on a microphone. Watch that promo, arguably one of the best promos of all time. But I just love listening to Fidel talk about Dusty Rhodes because he had such an impact on his career, and so many legends did. He mentioned Ada Maivia. That is unbelievable. That's The Rock's mom, Rocky Johnson. I can't tell you how many photos I've seen with Fidel Sierra and Rocky Johnson. That is a brotherhood right there, and it's just so good.
And the Rock, little Rock was like 6 years old back then.
Old Dewey.
And I'd go visit them at their house in Tampa, apartment, and he was just, and they'd take his toys because he did something wrong, and they'd walk out of the room, and I'd go grab his toys and bring them back to him.
Wow.
And I still got heat nowadays. I'm not heat, but I mean, I see Ada Maivia, and she said, "Remember when you used to take Dewey's toys and give them back to him and we'd punish them?" And I'd say, "Yes, ma'am."
That's beautiful.
I was lucky. Rocky Johnson, we spent time in Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, all here in Championship Wrestling from Florida. I've seen him so many legends, relatives, as Coach Ball did too, that put together by Brian Blair. And it's great, the Johnson family. And let's not forget, I just want to throw this out there, is that we got the CAC coming up towards the end of August. And man, if anybody's in Las Vegas, it's Cauliflower Alley Club, President Brian Blair, Vice President Rich Yingling. But man, they do this, and it's all to help wrestlers in need. Pro wrestlers that are in bad shape right now. Let's say they're in deathbed, or they're very sick, or I know they've helped so many. I just can't mention their names because you're not supposed to. But all that money goes. Nobody makes a payday out of that. All that money goes towards the CAC, Cauliflower Alley Club. And this year they're honoring like Sting and my brother Bill Alfonso Fonzie, and I'm going to induct him. And they got Buff Bagwell, the Dudley Boys. I mean, they got a heck of a group they're inducting this year there.
Absolutely, I'm lucky. I'm headed to Vegas with them. We're
Wow.
all in the same hotel. Yeah, brother, it's going to be something phenomenal. It's a bucket list.
Will you be able to stream? Will you be able to stream?
We got to try to do that.
Man, that's content. Y'all are the content.
Coach
that
Taylor,
would be good. We have to try to figure out when we can squeeze that in there, because it's a 3-hour difference, but still, we can squeeze it in somehow, I would think.
Yeah, Coach Taylor.
It's very busy because you're like in the banquet, out of the banquet. You go into this Estada room where they got all this stuff from so many years ago, wrestlers from Lutez to, like I just came from Waterloo, Iowa. It's sort of like that, and but in a different way. But it's something that it's a must go to if you've never been to it. I suggest everybody go to it once. I didn't go for so many years. Red Bastille would try to get me to go, and then I finally went, and then I've been going ever since in the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm a lifetime member, and I know that they've helped a lot of my friends that some were about to die, and some were, and I know that they helped them out.
Number 5 on the top 101 pro wrestlers of all time, compiled by Sports Illustrated. I think Sports Illustrated did a lot better with this list than the Bleacher Report. And the Bleacher Report is owned by Time Warner and Turner. The Undertaker, number 5. Once upon a time, The Undertaker was a stiff. One of those 7-foot-tall projects brought in for refinement and maybe a monster heel run. But over 25 years, Taker has morphed into the single most respected person in the wrestling industry. He owns dozens of classic matches, a legendary entrance, and the single most hallowed feat in fake fighting, 21 straight wins at WrestleMania. It's the ultimate story of someone taking a dead-end gimmick and turning it into gold. How do you feel about The Undertaker, the legendary Cuban assassin Fidel Sierra?
Undertaker is a locker room leader. He's like a judge in a courthouse. He's like a judge in the court. They have wrestlers court. Undertaker's the judge because he's tried to help so many guys, and he's always, man, I had a match one time, and I had to run out, and it was my idea, and I said, Taker, how about if it was in Puerto Rico, and all they had there, they didn't have no big old coffin. They had a real little coffin. And I said, Taker, how about I come out and you do boom, you stick me in that little coffin? He said, oh, that sounds odd. Would you do that? And I said, yeah, bro, how can I not do that for you? So he took me, and I said, just please do not slam that like you do the big one at WWF or WWE. And he took me, he put me in that little coffin. He closed it, and I was like, Please, I hope. I was starting like, how you feel like you can't breathe because you're in this little tiny thing compared to the giant one they use on WWE. But now, he took care of me. But man, I can remember walking with the promoter to go pay him for that show, and he's always been such a nice guy and so good, and he's good friends with Dennis Knight, Midian, and he's good. He's friends with everybody because how can you not like a guy like him? So I rate to Undertaker.
Coach Ball,
Yes, sir.
how do you feel about the Undertaker, number 5?
Well, the thing I love about him is, every wrestler back then, kind of paid their dues. And the guy that really baptized him was he had a match in World Class Wrestling with Bruiser Brody. His first ever match was against Bruiser Brody. And Bruiser Brody laid a legendary beatdown on him. I think his name was like Big Red or something like that, and he was going against Bruiser Brody. But Brody stomped a mud hole in him. And, I think after that really made him go all in and want to become a pro wrestler because he ended up getting respect from Brody, after the beatdown that he took. I got a question for you though, Fidel. Did y'all ever have any matches? Because I know him and Dan Spivey were in WCW around the same time. Did you ever lock horns with those guys? I believe they were known as the Skyscrapers back then, and he was Mark Callows. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think Fidel got cut off. He'll be back.
Gotcha. Yeah, hop on if you can. But yeah, man, Undertaker. I remember him, with the Skyscrapers. Him and Dan Spivey, and I mean, just 6'8", 6'9", 6'10",
So
giant.
Sid Vicious wasn't in that?
Eventually, Callows, Mark Callows, aka Undertaker, left to go to WWF at the time, and that's when he was pretty much replaced with Sid Vicious, and they became Skyscraper. It was originally the original Skyscraper, Dangerous Dan and Mark Callows, aka
Number 4 on the list, and hopefully the legendary Cuban assassin Fidel Sierra will come back. Number 4, The Rock. Coach Ball,
Wow.
Talk about The Rock. Rocky Maivia, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
When you talk about underdog stories, I mean, who has a better story than only having $7 in their pocket and now is arguably one of the top money drawers in all of entertainment. I think you saw him in his final boss role here at WrestleMania, the past WrestleMania in Philadelphia. He showed you that he is the ultimate executioner when it comes to pro wrestling. The legendary family that he is affiliated with, unbelievable. Peter Maivia was his grandpa, his dad, Rocky. Just unbelievable. I love The Rock. I loved him in his SmackDown role. He's the original. He was the original one to lay the SmackDown, and that's why the name of the show is SmackDown, is because of The Rock. Just an absolute legend. I would say he would be top 3, if not top 1, because of what he's been able to do throughout his amazing career, and him taking over Hollywood and kind of bringing John Cena, bringing Batista, bringing those other wrestlers in over there. I wouldn't be surprised to see Roman Reigns not making movies here eventually. He's been in a couple already, I believe. But yeah, man, The Rock out of the University of Miami. Oh man, awesome. Take over, big fella. We're talking about Dwayne The Rock Johnson, man. Go.
Number 4.
Oh, number 4, The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, man. He's such a great athlete, great movie star, great everything he does is it turns into money. come on, give me the money. No, he does. He turns everything into gold, and he's another one that he did a show in Puerto Rico again. We were talking about that before I had a call from my man Romeo, but they had a show called the Rock One Night Only, and he came in with the Dudley Boys and all that, and it did like 18,000, 20,000 people in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and outside show, and man, he was so overall, man, the people. I was a heel and had to go when the match was over. He got done and he had to get to his limousine. They didn't have enough security, and I said, I'm going with you, brother, because he had so much respect for me, because like I said, his dad and mom and King Credit helped me get into the business, that he called me into a room, and it was just him in there, and he said, what do you think of this? What do you think of Savio Vega being a special referee in my match tonight? And I said, you think that? I said, that's a great idea, brother. That will get you already over, but that would be like you're picking the Carlos Colon, as I always call the Hulk Hogan of Puerto Rico, and Savio Vega right up there too. So I said, yeah, I would definitely do that. And I remember the promoter that brought him in, and everybody looked like, well, why did he call you in there? I said, because we go all the way back. But so I helped him get back into that limousine. The fans were like pushing us together, and I got him in there. But I wish I could be in touch with him right now. It's hard, because he lives away. Sometimes so many people not bother, but they call all these guys up, and it's always because they want something, not just to say hello. I'd love to call them just to say hello, how you doing, and all that. It's not just about calling them because, oh, man, you made it. Can you get me on this, or can you get me on that? I'd love that, but, but he's always been straight up with me, and yeah, whatever number y'all got him, if you got him in the top 5, he belongs. And let me tell you one more, and I'm going to tell you one more, because I'm not the biggest CM Punk lover in the world, but after CAC last year and all that, he's spoken, and I respect him a lot too now than before, where I didn't have respect for certain reasons, things that had happened years and years ago.
Wow. Number 3, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Wow.
Legendary Fidel Sierra, the Cuban Assassin. Were you in WCW the same time as Stunning Steve Austin?
No, I think that was right before I got there, or I had left to go to somewhere else. But Stone Cold has earned everything he deserves to be. If they got him down as number 3, he deserves it, because he's another one that, bro, he knows how to draw money. He knows how to, whatever role they got him playing, he knows how to do it. And how can I say he doesn't belong in the top 3?
Coach Bald, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Number 3.
The last 2 guys you mentioned, whenever they had the Monday Night Wars, they are the reason. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Dwayne The Rock Johnson are the reason that WWF, WWE won that battle. Those 2 guys single-handedly made everybody want to change the channel, when on the other channel was greatness. You had Hall and Nash, you had Sting, you had Hollywood Hulk Hogan. But the feud, just how legitimate it seemed between those 2. And you got to add Triple H. Between those 3 guys, just the feud and the animosity between those, it made you never want to change the channel. And, him going from that blonde, the pretty boy blonde look as Stunning Steve, and then shaving it going hardcore. And in my opinion, he started doing promos more like a Harley race. We had mentioned Harley race earlier, Fidel Sierra, and I was saying that I believe a lot of Stone Cold, his microphone, the way he would look walking around to the crowd, just that kind of bad attitude, a lot of that came from Harley race kind of style. What do you think about that, Fidel?
Yeah, I agree. Man, Harley Race was one tough son of a gun. You know, I mean, Harley Race, you know, you had a choice. Do you want to fight Harley Race or Haku? I just want to run.
Yeah. Number two.
You know, I always say this. And I know I'm not trying to get off the subject. I always say, if Haku was mad at me, and he was 20 yards away, and I had the strongest rifle you can think of, I'd start shooting at him, but I'd still know that no matter how many times I hit him, he's still goosing me.
Wow. That's respect. Number two, Shawn Michaels. I don't put Shawn Michaels in above The Rock, above Stone Cold, or Hulk Hogan. But, you know, he was the midnight rocker to me, and I'll never forget that. I know that was his job, but I'm just a fan. And you're shaking your head. You're agreeing Shawn Michaels does not deserve to be ahead of The Rock or Stone Cold or Hulk Hogan.
Not even close. Not even close. Not even close. He was a great athlete, great wrestler, drew some money, but I can't even compare him. Everyone that we've just talked about, he doesn't come close to, you know.
I mean, I would say he's top 10.
Yeah, top 10. I would agree with you. Hard. He's a 9+, but he is a great athlete. Can't take that away from him. He has drawn some great crowds, and the Montreal screw job with him and Bret Hart. He says he didn't know nothing about it. I find it hard to believe, but you know, the Vince just came out and just whatever. But other than that, he's doing a great job running that NXT division here in Orlando, and he's trying to give back that way, but I'm sure they're paying him good to give back that way. But he did have a little bit of he was a little bit of a prima donna-ish guy. You know, he treated me and Ricky Santana that way, and Ricky Santana knew him before he even thought of becoming Shawn Michaels.
Coach Bald, how do you feel about Shawn Michaels being 2 on this list?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think he's maybe top 10, but definitely not number 2. You know, he's got that moment that'll live in every wrestling fan's mind when, you know, he was kind of sending Flair out, and you know, he did the "I'm sorry" and then super kicked Ric Flair. I think that moment was probably Shawn Michaels' greatest moment. But he did have some great matches with Bret Hart. He had some great matches with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He had some good matches with The Rock. You know, him, and I think maybe because he's such good friends with Triple H, maybe that's why he got put here. How is Triple H not in that top 20? That's something else as well, man.
Like to know too.
But yeah, it's crazy, Fidel. I think they had like Inoki at 19, Harley Race at 16. Like this list. It's insane. It is insane.
You know, they're going by these lists, but they're not going by, okay, let's say this generation's era or whatever, or this last 10 years or whatever. But they're not going, when they say Inoki and all those guys, that's a whole different era. I mean, you got to talk about Dr. Death Steve Williams. You got to talk about Terry Gordy.
Wow.
You know, there's a lot of people that you know, Inoki. You know, that's a whole different. That should be a whole. Okay, these are the guys that paved the way for us to make it to where we're at today.
Amen. Amen.
And and that's the way this should go like that. And then if it wasn't for these guys, this guy, I always look at it that. My first match in Dallas, Texas, against Buddy Roberts.
Wow.
Going as Buddy Valentine and had Johnny Valentine in his corner. And I'm talk about my chest was bleeding at the end of the match. But those are a whole different way the way back then. And those guys, they put you through some hell. Mr. Wrestling, Johnny Walker and Jack Briscoe and Jerry Briscoe, and you talk, that's a whole different category that you should go from one to whatever. And that would be so hard because so many of them were so great.
Man, absolutely. Coach Taylor, before we say number one, Fidel Sierra, tell us about this Friday night huge main event here in St. Petersburg, Florida. Top Dollar going against your boy, Romeo, and Fidel Sierra, the Cuban assassin, is going to be in the corner this Friday, 7:30, St. Petersburg, Florida, Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling. Tell us about it and tell us everything else that's going on with it.
Center. Campbell Park Recreation Center.
Wow.
I could tell you, a.k.a. Top Dollar. I just did a promo, and I don't know if Coach Ball, I know you've seen it, but I called Top Dollar 25 cents. But he's going to have a heck of a hard time getting through Romeo, and especially with me in his corner guiding him. It's a great show. There's a lot of great matches. I think there's 8 matches. It's going to be very good. And it's an independent show. It's like, but my man Romeo on Friday night is going to teach Top Dollar that he ain't no top dollar.
Oof.
He's going to go to him, like I said. Romeo's going to come at him like a lion who hadn't eaten in 2 weeks, and Top Dollar's that big old New York steak stand there. And he's going to tear him apart. And the fans, they don't want to miss out. It's going to be one great show there this Friday, 7:30 p.m. bell time.
Absolutely, man. The Cuban buzzsaw, Romeo versus Top Dollar. Top Dollar, man, he's legit, dude. Played football he played football at the University of Maryland, played for the Dolphins, played for the Bucs. Big fella was in WWE. I believe he's a TNA champion at the moment. So I don't know if there's gold on the line, but I know I'm front row. I can't wait, and I'm going to try to bring Totem Pole Nation with us.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you what, then if you want to say that, well, then, my man Romeo, he held all the gold in Cuba. So
wow.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to go like it. He's got Fidel Sierra, the Cuban assassin, and legendary Fidel Sierra, the Cuban assassin.
Yes.
And, and let me say it in Spanish. Romeo es el hombre más pingao en la lucha libre. Romeo Guerrero. And so it's going to be a heck of a show Friday night.
Man, I'm getting fired up right now, man.
If you could share this out there, they need to be there Friday night.
I'm excited. Number 1 overall on the list. And I think he deserves to be on there. The guy yesterday put disrespect on Ric Flair's name. And I don't think anyone can put any disrespect on Ric Flair's name. I guess he thought Ric Flair was the best. But if Ric Flair didn't think Ric Flair was the best, he wouldn't have been the best. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Number 1, the Nature Boy. Everybody wants to take a ride on Space Mountain. Woo! Ric Flair, Fidel Sierra, the legendary Cuban assassin.
Baby, you know what? I say, Ric Flair should be number 1. A bunch of those guys should be number 1. But Ric Flair. I was with Ric Flair in his craziest days. I mean, people crazy nowadays, and they should have seen him in 1978 making such great money for Jim Crockett Promotions and throwing I remember a hotel in Richmond, Virginia. He threw a
The
house
Marriott.
out a fourth story or third story onto the street because he loved his kamikazes, and he'd make you sit wherever Ric Flair went, and he'd see you. You'd have to go to the bar with him, and he'd love those kamikazes. He'd make you drink one after another.
That's where Coach Ball used to work.
Yeah.
Coach Ball worked at that hotel.
Yeah, he was probably the one that threw us out. Anyway, no, but yeah, Ric Flair definitely deserves, for all he's done in this wrestling business, he deserves to be up there.
Coach Ball, the nature boy.
I mean, like you said, I'm Ric Flair, the styling, profiling, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wailing dealing, son of a gun. And you don't have to like it, but learn to love it. Woo!
Yes.
Yeah.
What a legend, man. What a legend in the game. Any heel at any time is going to watch Ric Flair promos. His stuff early in the 80s was my favorite. He was the golden child, man. He made so many wrestlers up their game. He was one that helped put over guys like the Von Erichs, Harry and Kevin Von Erich. He made so many guys just mega stars. I want to talk about, since we got him on the phone and since we got him here live, Fidel Sierra, tell us about Top Gun versus Nature Boy Ric Flair. You guys went to matinee twice. Tell us about that. Both 60 minutes. And
what happened was Ric Flair was a world champion, and I wrestled him. They did back then. You had to talk to people, and that's what Ric Flair was great about. It's all about not only just the wrestling, but how you go when you do your interviews and talk to people to come to see you at the matches. And I wrestled Ric Flair in a littler town in Oregon, and it was a non-title match, and I beat him. Right, they put me right over right in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3. So then now they have all this, and everybody knows it, but they don't have it on. Nobody filmed it back then because Don Owens didn't do it that way. So then, but when I wrestled them, everybody knew that I had beat him 2 months or a month and a half before. So it came time, and I wrestled Ric Flair in Portland Sports Arena. It was packed, sold out, and we did an hour draw, and Ric Flair made me look that last minute. It looked like I had him beat, and then the time ran out. And then I'll tell you what he really did was he got on the mic, and I got on the mic and said, Ric Flair, if you were man enough, you'd give me another 5 minutes because you seen I had you beat. And he gave me the 5 minutes. And then within 2 minutes, he pinned me 1, 2, 3. But it was just an honor. I can't hear you. You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. So it was an honor for Ric Flair to do that for me. But you see, Ric Flair knew how to not only work in the ring, wrestle, but he knew how to talk to people to come to. That's what a lot of guys don't realize. I was just in Waterloo, Idaho, Thunderbolt Patterson. Somebody knew how to talk to people into the building. But Dusty Rhodes, the late King Curtis, they talk to people into the building. It's just the way our business. People realize, oh, this wrestler's good, but the ones that can really cut a promo and get you, they can cut a promo and get you to say, man, I'm coming. I used to watch promos of Eddie Graham and the Great Malenko, and I used to say, I'm going to wrestling Tuesday night at the Armory. And then I would say, we would be there, and I'd say, I don't know about any of the other matches, but that Eddie Graham versus Malenko match was for real. And that's how convincing they were. And they'd beat the living hell out of each other. But nowadays it's different. But like I said, Ric Flair, I don't mean to go off the subject. Ric Flair, to me, has put so many and helped so many people get to a higher level, and I appreciate that. Myself, I'm going to have to get going. I love always being on here with y'all. and I'll see you Friday. Or I know from CAC we got to get on here, Coach Bald, and say hello to everybody on Totem Pole Nation.
Fidel Sierra, man, you are the best, brother. Thank you. Totem Pole Nation, thanks you. And huge happy birthday this weekend. Fidel Sierra's birthday is this upcoming Saturday. Where can we
I'm
send
turning
gifts
30.
at? Where can we send our presents, our flowers to you?
You can say, well, on Facebook, Fidel Sierra. If you want to send me money on Zelle, I can give you my Zelle account. No, I'm kidding.
Cuban Worldwide.
But yeah, Cuban Worldwide at AOL. I'll take birthday wishes. I appreciate that. I always love when people come up to me and say, "Man, I used to love to watch you wrestle," whatever. It shows you the inside. It makes you gives you that feeling of, wow, this kid just walked up. I just had this in Waterloo. This. Oh, I used to watch. He's older now, like me. I'm going to be 40. He said you inspired me when I was a kid. You were so good and all that, and it makes you feel good when the fans remember you and they put you over like that. But this Saturday's my birthday. I'm turning 40. I'll stick to that number. I think Coach Bald might be a couple years older than me, but
yeah.
Yeah,
mine's gray, man. Yours is dark. So yeah, you could be right. Hey, Fidel, since we got you on, can you give a quick shout out to our sponsors, St. Pete Rejuvenate? I know they kind of helped you a little bit.
Oh man, St. Pete Rejuvenate's the best, brother. They helped me out when I was really doing bad, and I want to die. Can I say Dr. Anna? Yeah, I want to thank Dr. Anna and everybody at St. Pete Rejuvenate, because they gave me that ketamine treatment and all that. And man, people who don't believe in that stuff really works. And if you're in the Tampa Bay area, I'd say go to St. Pete Rejuvenate, because they are the best and they will take care of you. And she's right there monitoring everything. So you don't have to feel like, oh, they're just going to put me in a room and leave me. No, she's checking on you every few minutes. And that's what I love. And I'm not just saying that because I know her or not like that. I'm saying it because St. Pete Rejuvenate is first class. I want to thank you guys again. And next time, I hope I get to talk to you from CAC.
Amen. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you, Fidel. Love you, brother.
Love you, brother. Bye-bye.
Wow. Hey, man, that's what we do. Just brought you an amazing legend that had something to do with every single person on that list. I would love to get his list, you know what I mean? Because it's a legit one. And, man, you talking about a guy that is, best friends with Haku. He's best friends with Ricky Santana, the grappler, Andrew Anderson. He always sits beside Gerald Briscoe at events, just a very loved individual. And it's so amazing because his whole career, he's pretty much been the bad guy. And, he's just one that has that switch that he can turn on and turn off. And I'm proud to have such a good friendship with him, as well as you too, Coach, and as well as everybody here with Totem Pole Nation, man. We love you guys. Thanks for checking in. Coach, I'm tapping out. I will see you. When's the next podcast?
I don't know. We're just going to keep this one rolling, man, this game.
Yeah, keep it going, man. Hey, why don't we look it up and see what matches are going here on SummerSlam and get those on the big screen, man?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right, Coach. I'm going to check you out here in a little bit, all right?
We love you, brother.
Love you guys.
Totem Pole Nation, what a blessing.